All you need is an enthusiasm for astronomy. That's it.
Now this year, 2009, it's a special year. It's the International Year of Astronomy. What's that mean?
That means we're celebrating the 400th anniversary of Galileo using a telescope for astronomical purposes for the first time. It was about May of 1609 that he received a letter from a colleague about this new spyglass, and without ever seeing one himself, he built one. He built several prototypes, and his first goal was not to turn it toward the sky, but it was to make money. So he showed it to the Venetian Senate, and they were up on one of the many bell towers around Venice, looking at ships several miles away that they couldn't see with the eye yet, and they realized, hey, this thing has great economic and military purposes, and didn't make Galileo wealthy, but he was pretty much set for life. And then eventually, toward the end of 1609, he did what, like I did, he turned it to the moon and just realized it's not a like a bland, featureless disk. It's just like the Earth. It has mountain ranges, it has craters, a lot more than the Earth does, but still. And it was just a whole world by itself. And then in the 1610, he went on to discover the 4 moons of Jupiter, which I discovered myself. And then he realized that using that information about these little guys revolving around Jupiter, he realized that all motion isn't centered on the Earth. Because at the time, most people believed in the geocentric theory of the universe. Earth was the center of the universe and everything revolved around the Earth, but here's these little moons revolving around Jupiter. And he went on to discover the phases of Venus, which can only happen if Venus revolves around the sun and not the Earth. He discovered sunspots, even though he weren't quite sure what they were. He did observe the rings of Saturn, but to him they just kind of look like a triple body system, like maybe like a head with like really big ears or something like that. So he didn't quite know what to make those. He just went on to make many fundamental discoveries with the telescope that we kind of take for granted today. But it really all started with him.
How did he report those?
He published a really popular work called The Starry Messenger shortly after his observations in 1609 and 1610, and that just made him, very, very famous. And then he eventually went on to make more discoveries not reported in the Starry Messenger, like sunspots. And he also, later in his life, he discovered lunar libration, like the moon gently kind of rocks back and forth. So we don't necessarily always see the same face of the moon. It just kind of gently rock back and forth. And he actually discovered that after he went blind in one eye, and he was still observing.
I was going to ask, did somebody tell him not to look at the sun without a filter?
He was very safe. He did use projection. He was smart enough. There's kind of a misconception because he did go blind later in life completely, but it's mostly from cataracts and stuff like that. He never tried looking through his telescope at the sun. That's kind of a misconception.
So 2009 commemorates his use of the telescope, and it's the International Year of Astronomy. What does that mean for Kalamazoo?
That means that the Kalamazoo Astronomical Society is going to have lots of educational astronomical events. We're trying to publicize them as best we can. We do have several events coming up. For the next 2 months, February and March, we have guest speakers from our own club. I gave the first talk in January. Starting in April, we have some really good guest speakers. We have Fred Adams from the University of Michigan. He's a very well-known astrophysicist around the world, and he teaches right here in the state. He's going to be coming in April.
What's he going to talk about?
He's going to talk about extrasolar planets, which is one of the big discoveries to happen for us.
It was just in the news the other day.
The past 10 years, yep.
About temperature changes on...
Yep. In June, probably one of our better-known guest speakers. You may not exactly know who he is. His name is Dr. Robert Nimroff. And if you've ever heard of the Astronomy Picture of the Day page, where they have like a new picture every day, he teaches at Michigan Tech University. He's going to come down and just basically show us the best images thus far of 2009. And we're really looking forward to that. And then we kind of take a little bit of a break in the summer. We do have meetings in July, and we have our picnic in August.
Is that a picnic at night?
No, it's kind of in the evening. The picnic's for really just members only, but afterward we do have a public session scheduled, so everyone can come to that. And I guess if you bring your dues, you can have picnic too. September, we have amateur astronomer coming to talk about amateur spectroscopy, basically breaking light up into its separate colors and seeing what different objects are made of, how they rotate, stuff like that. In October, we have a fellow coming from Central Michigan University. So several years ago, as a undergraduate, he made this large panorama of the Milky Way, just taking pictures around the world as he visited various observatories and such. And he's going to come and tell us how he put that together. His name is Axel Mellinger, and he's very well known for this panorama. And now he's right here in Michigan, so he's going to come down in October. And then in November, we have Terry Mann, who's the president of the Astronomical League. She'll be coming to talk about women in astronomy. And then December is our annual meeting and our holiday party.
So you have an aggressive schedule for the year of astronomy. Now let's say somebody's watching this and they're going to forget the details. You have a website they can go to?
Yeah, we do have a website. You can easily Google, say, Kalamazoo Astronomical Society, but the website itself is KASonline, all one word, .org. It's pretty easy to find.
Is this something that teenagers would appreciate? I mean, what age do you need to be to follow your programs?
Yeah, for our general meetings, it's I think mostly maybe high schoolers and up, maybe middle school, depending on the kid. But basically, I think anyone from middle school and up can appreciate the program, probably especially June, because there'll be probably some technical details on each picture that Dr. Nemiroff is going to show. But basically, that's just a cool picture show.
Now, this is the International Year of Astronomy. Is there an Astronomy Day?
Yep. We do hold Astronomy Day every year. Usually it's been at the Nature Center, but this year we're trying to do something a bit bigger. We're trying to organize a very large Astronomy Day, and our tentative date is May 30th. And we have a pretty good program lined up. We have the well-known author and documentary maker Timothy Ferris. We're hoping to have him come. We have an actor named Michael Francis who's going to do a portrayal as Galileo. And we're also trying to get this jazz group called 1027 to do a performance of theirs where they show Hubble pictures in the background during the show. And then we always have solar observing, we have displays. This year we'll be focusing on Galileo and the telescope, and we have hands-on activities. And if all goes well, many kids will be able to walk away with the Galileo telescope, a telescope they can build right there and take home and make some of his fundamental discoveries. Right now we're trying to put together funding, and of course if there's anyone out there that can help us, we'd very much appreciate that. We're looking for maybe corporate sponsorship or something like that, and we're working on grants right now, so wish us luck, and we're trying to put that together right now.
This helps defray the cost of your programs, and Astronomy Day, again, is going to be May
30th.
Is that a Saturday?
It's a Saturday, and we're hoping it's going to be, it'll be free for everyone. Even though we have some pretty big speakers coming and a lot of big activities, we want to make it absolutely free, so everyone can come.
Now, you've been active in the club for a couple decades, it sounds like.
Pretty close.
What are some of the exciting things that you've seen in astronomy, just in your career? What are some of the changes? You talked about Galileo. What's happening now?
Amateur astronomy has really come a long way. For one, telescopes are really, really cheap. Back in the 1970s and before that, the easiest way to get a telescope was to build one. You could easily buy some, but they were fairly more expensive. But today they're very common. Telescopes that we would refer to as kind of junk telescopes, the cost of those today could buy you a really decent beginner telescope for just maybe a couple $100. Our binoculars are very good quality, but they don't cost very much. That's usually a good way to get started. And so you can buy a whole variety of telescopes for a relatively low price. And now today, most amateur astronomers that like to take pictures of the skies do it digitally. We've abandoned film forever. We now use either digital cameras or our astronomical CCD cameras, or charge-coupled devices, basically with a chip that's cooled so it doesn't pick up as much noise like a digital camera does.